Last week, my own family humiliated me in public, not behind closed doors, not during some heated argument, but right there in a luxury car showroom. They didn't just laugh at me, they erased me. My mother handed me a rag to wipe down a Ferrari, like I was nothing more than part of the cleaning crew, while my sister whispered with a cruel smile, "At least now we look generous." They mocked me openly, cast me aside, and then kicked me out, completely unaware that I hadn't come alone. The man pulling up next changed everything without raising his voice. This isn't just a story about money. It's about silent betrayal, quiet revenge, and a woman they thought was invisible until it was far too late. I still remember the softness in her voice, so casual, like it was any other morning, when Adeline, my mother, called, inviting me to the dealership because Selene was thinking about a new car. I hesitated, but said yes because that's what daughters do, cling to the fading thread of what family used to mean. The next morning, standing outside the gleaming Boston showroom next to Selene in her designer heels and gold-tinted sunglasses, I felt the chill, not just from the weather, but from the cold reality of how invisible I was. Inside, the polished, chrome shone, but no one looked my way. Salesmen fawned over my family as if I were heir. Mom didn't introduce me, Dad already knew what Selene wanted, and my sister smiled like she belonged, while I faded into the background beside a quiet dark blue car that whispered of modesty and restraint, qualities I embraced. Dad handed me paperwork to sign, my name already printed, a silent claim I never asked for but blindly accepted, until a message from our family group chat betrayed me. "Let her come. Her face makes us look generous," followed by mocking laughter and a cold dismissal. "She still thinks she matters." I held that phone like it was a knife, but I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just saw myself clearly for the first time, and quietly walked out. Outside, the sun was indifferent as I wrapped my cardigan tighter and felt something break inside me, something that wouldn't heal this time. I lingered near the service lounge, watching them revel by the Ferraris, Selene posing with practiced ease, Mom mingling like she owned the place, and Dad laughing loud enough to be overheard. Then Selena noticed me, and with a sweet, rehearsed smile, handed me a bright yellow cloth and told me to wipe down the car I was supposed to ignore, as if to remind me of my place. I wiped the hood slowly, deliberately, then turned away silently, carrying the weight of every cruel word and gesture. In that moment, I saw the truth. They had moved on, erased my kindness, my sacrifices. 3 years ago, when Selene couldn't make a down payment, I quietly sent her the money she begged for, a secret lifeline that no one ever acknowledged now. Their praises, their smiles, they belonged to a story that erased me. I stepped back, found a quiet corner, and stared out at the cold, gray sky, realizing I was done waiting for them to see me. Sometimes you have to be forgotten to finally understand your own worth. I didn't want their attention. I craved peace, not the hollow spotlight in a room I helped build, but where I was never truly welcome. My palm pressed against the cool glass as I closed my eyes for a heartbeat, whispering, "This is the last time I show up where I'm not wanted," and for once, I meant it. I lingered beneath the overhang by the showroom's side entrance, arms crossed, sunlight grazing the parked cars like indifferent witnesses. They had tried to erase me, and maybe they succeeded, but something inside urged me to stay, not to walk away just yet. Quietly, I doubled back, slipping through the valet entrance with measured steps. Inside, I found a secluded spot by the brochures, distant enough to disappear, but close enough to catch every word. That's when I heard my father's calm, rehearsed voice, boasting to the manager about how we've supported this dealership for years, calling it a family tradition, while Selene stood beside him, chin lifted, wearing the air of entitlement as if it was hers by birthright, not borrowed. My jaw clenched, memories flashing, how I had co-signed leases, worked double shifts while Selene splurged on investment pieces. Tradition, sure. Then came the unexpected. Just as I turned to leave, my father approached, fishing from his blazer a yellowed, folded receipt. "You remember this?" he asked lightly. "A tuition payment receipt, $38 of $200, my name scrawled on top. That's what we paid for your degree," he said, voice soft but loaded. "We never asked for anything back. But gratitude's not so hard, is it?" I stared at the ink and finally understood. This wasn't a memory. It was a debt they expected me to repay forever. A quiet reminder I was lucky to even sit at the table. Folding the paper, I handed it back, voice steady. No worries. I've paid it 1,000 times over. His smile didn't falter. Then came the sharpest sting. Just as I stepped toward the exit, a man in a gray blazer blocked me, clipboard in hand. Excuse me, ma'am. I've been asked to escort you off the floor. Confused, I asked why. He glanced down, unsure, saying, for security reasons, non-buyers must be cleared. I said evenly, my name's on the application. I'm family. He paused, glanced away, as a security guard approached. I didn't fight, but I looked him dead in the eye and asked, are you escorting them too? Gesturing toward my family still laughing by the Ferraris. No answer, no apology. I nodded once, brushed past them both, and walked out slowly, deliberately. From the corner of my eye, I caught Caleb, the younger salesman who'd offered me water earlier, watching, mouthing something like, I'm sorry. No one stopped it. Outside, the sun cast long shadows. I rested my hands on the cold metal of the valet railing. I didn't cry or blink. They tried to erase me, erase my place, but erasure sometimes clears space for something louder. I wasn't disappearing quietly. I stayed, steady and real. I leaned against a concrete pillar, the late afternoon sun warm on my shoulders. Through the showroom's glossy windows, I saw them, smiling, posing, clinking water bottles like victors of a game they hadn't yet won. I rolled up my sleeve and felt the cool touch of a bracelet Alexander had given me before our 3rd anniversary. A thin silver band with a faint inscription inside. You don't have to prove your worth. I ran my thumb over the words like armor. That tiny message was all I needed. Inside, Celine raised a champagne flute like a queen hosting a gala, while Mom beamed approval, proud of the daughter who wouldn't hesitate to throw her own sister under the bus for appearances. I caught my reflection in the glass. Not designer heels or polished curls, not fake smiles, but something real. Someone finally awake. Footsteps approached. I didn't turn. Mind if I stand here? A soft voice said. It was Caleb, the salesman, lanyard still around his neck, jacket off like he'd clocked out early. He didn't say much, just stood beside me, both of us watching a scene we barely understood. I saw what happened, he said quietly after a pause. That wasn't right, I stayed silent. I don't know your story, he went on, but people noticed. You handled it better than I would have. I looked at him, voice low. Walking away isn't weakness. He nodded. No, it's knowing when they don't deserve your words. Silence settled, heavy but not uncomfortable. Then he surprised me. Your silence, it hit harder than anything they said. Suddenly, I was 10 years old again, hiding behind the pantry door as Celine threw tantrums, and Mom snapped at me for eavesdropping, calling me always lurking, always waiting to be offended. But I wasn't waiting anymore. Caleb glanced at my wrist. Nice bracelet. I smiled. Thanks. Doesn't match the outfit, but it fits the moment. He chuckled softly. We stood a while longer. Then I stepped toward the parking lot, not to drive, just to shift my weight. Caleb didn't follow. I hope they realize what they lost. They won't, I said quietly, but I will. I walked to my car, didn't start the engine, just opened the door, tossed my bag inside, and sat down with the window half open. I wasn't leaving yet, not until I saw the look on their faces when the next surprise arrived. I didn't need to look back to feel it. The showroom door closed behind me, not with a slam, but a soft click carrying more finality than any shout could. Just as I reached my car, a sharply dressed man in his mid-30s stepped out from the side entrance, no warmth, no hesitation, badge-reading finance liaison. He approached with a clipboard tucked under his arm like a sentence about to be delivered. Ms. Wren, he said, measured but polite, may I have a moment? Some paperwork needs finalizing. It's about the co-signer amendment. Your parents requested that Celine be the sole applicant moving forward. I blinked, caught off guard. Wait, What? The man gave a thin smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. Standard procedure, he said smoothly, voice rehearsed. Internal request. Shouldn't take more than a moment. I stepped closer, voice steady but firm. I'm the one who signed the original documents. I co-signed that application. This morning. He hesitated, flicking a glance away. That version was replaced. I believe you've been removed. Just like that, erased. I followed him back through the side corridor, past the espresso bar and promotional posters, the same path I'd walked hours ago. But something had shifted, a cold current in the air. My name didn't belong here anymore. In the quiet lounge, I sat opposite a fresh stack of paperwork, the unspoken weight of expectation pressing on me like invisible chains. I reached for the top sheet. There it was. Celine's name, bold and centered, clean and unblemished by mine. I flipped the page, blank signature lines except hers. She'll be handling the financing alone, he said with a thin, forced smile, as if announcing a prize. It's more efficient this way. I said nothing, placing the papers down slowly. My mother's voice drifted over, sharp and careless as she passed. You always said credit didn't matter to you, so this shouldn't bother you, right? Not even a glance back. It wasn't just exclusion anymore. It was a blade, cutting deeper, erasing me. I stood, the room suddenly too loud. The hiss of the cappuccino machine, the tap of acrylic nails, fake laughter behind glass, all amplified, suffocating. Then another blow hit. A manager, older, his suit crisp, his walk deliberate, a rehearsed professionalism meant for troublemakers, stepped forward. Ma'am, he said, clipped, we've been asked to kindly escort you out of the lounge. You're not on the purchasing profile and the floor's getting busier. I stared, voice steady. Is there a reason? We just want to maintain a certain atmosphere for our clients, he replied, eyes avoiding mine. Your real clients, you mean? I muttered. He said nothing, just held the line with cold politeness, giving me the silent choice, dignity or disruption. I walked away, slow and deliberate. Outside, the valet circle was quieter now, the sun dropping low and stretching long shadows across the pavement. I found a wide concrete planter by the hedge and sat, cool stone pressing against the backs of my legs, silence wrapping me except for occasional bursts of laughter inside. For a moment, I wondered if this was peace, letting them win, saving myself from more bruises. Maybe peace was not needing to be right. Maybe maturity was walking away without the last word. Maybe silence was strength. Then my phone buzzed, a notification from the family group chat. I opened it, knowing I shouldn't. A photo had been uploaded, Celine posing beside a red convertible, both parents smiling proudly at her sides. The caption read, "Good things come to those who deserve it." I didn't feel anger or sorrow. I felt done. Without hesitation, I deleted the entire thread. Years of messages, birthdays, check-ins, fake apologies, gone. Not out of spite, but because I was done living a life where I had to prove I didn't need a seat at the table. I set my phone down, eyes drifting over the quiet street, now dusk-tinged. No plans, no speeches, no revenge yet, just the quiet start of a presence they wouldn't see coming because they never really saw me at all. I hadn't moved from the planter. The fading lights softened around me, tinting the pavement gold. Through the showroom glass, my family's laughter echoed faintly, Celine's voice fluttering like a ghost when the door opened to let a couple out. That laugh, then the door closed, like a scene stuck on repeat inside a snow globe I no longer belonged to. But outside, I had space. No one watching through me, no one demanding my silence or my signature. Then I heard it before I saw it, the low velvet hum of an engine, smooth and confident, a sound that didn't need to roar or prove itself. Heads turned even from where I sat. A midnight blue Rolls-Royce Phantom glided into view, swallowing the sky with its sleek, unbothered presence. The chrome on the grille gleamed not just with light but with quiet judgment, the logo alone worth more than Celine's entire wardrobe. Behind the glass, my sister froze mid-gesture, fingers fluttering, like a child caught off guard. Our mother leaned in, confusion tightening her lips while our father was already pacing with a phone pressed tight to his ear, the tension slipping loose. No one emerged to stop the car. Alexander stepped out, tailored, steady, face unreadable, but not cold this time. He buttoned his jacket with effortless grace, circled the car, and opened the passenger door like it was a ceremony. "Ready?" he asked simply. I stepped inside. Celine pressed her palm flat against the glass, like a child staring at a world she couldn't understand. My mother leaned closer, as if proximity could decode the moment. My father kept pacing, mouth tight. Alexander didn't glance their way, didn't wave or nod. He just closed the door behind me, slid behind the wheel, and drove away. Slow and calm, no rush, no need to flee. The silence between us was clear, a shared understanding as we pulled out of the lot. I caught Caleb at the edge of the parking circle. No smile, just a nod. Small but enough. I leaned back as we left. The showroom's faces turned toward us, but no one opened a door, no one stepped forward. It was already too late. Jacksonville's lights blurred past the windows, the night softening around us. Neither of us spoke. He didn't ask how it went. I didn't explain why I hadn't called. Sometimes the people who know your silences are the only ones worthy of your truths. I stared out as the world slipped into dusk. It wasn't revenge I wanted. No spectacle, no drama. Just quiet, irrefutable proof that I had never been invisible and never would be again. By the time I got home, I already knew Celine wouldn't let the silence last. She never did. I didn't check my phone until morning, but the notifications had exploded overnight. Hundreds tangled in tags, group texts, Instagram mentions, forwarded screenshots from old mutuals. Her post was long, just vague enough to sting but carefully crafted. A filtered photo of her alone by the car, lips glossed, chin lifted. The caption? "Hard work pays off, even when others try to ride your name and someone else's wallet." Then the stories. Slides hinting at a certain person twisting facts for sympathy, disrupting a family milestone. No names, though. She'd never say my name outright, not even to defame me. That would give me too much credit. The comments needed no clarity. I always knew something was off about her. Some people are allergic to not being the center girl. "You handled that with such grace," one wrote. Celine didn't just lie. She made herself the heroine of my restraint. I didn't reply. Not then. Instead, I poured coffee, fed the dog, and opened my laptop. I already knew what had to happen next. Not out of spite, but because she wasn't done yet. Just before noon, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. "Ms. Wren?" a man's cautious voice said. "This is Jonathan Kim, co-owner of Beach and Crest Auto Group. I wanted to speak with you briefly." His tone was careful, like he was stepping on thin ice. "I hear there was some confusion during your recent visit. Is that what we're calling it now?" He chuckled uneasily. "Fair enough. I just got off the phone with someone who accused you of being emotionally unstable, causing a scene, even threatening legal action." I let silence fill the space. "And you believed her?" he asked. "I didn't say that. I said I heard it," I replied, nodding though he couldn't see me. "Would you like to see what I brought that day?" I asked. Quickly, he said, "Actually, I was about to ask if you'd meet me this afternoon. Just you and me. I'll be there in an hour." The meeting was in a private lounge off the dealership floor. No cameras, no banners, just 2 chairs, a glass table, and a serene picture of water. He was already seated when I arrived, brows drawn tight with fatigue or hesitation. I couldn't tell. I didn't sit immediately. Instead, I placed the folder on the table. He eyed it warily, as if it might bite. First, I slid forward my co-owner's original signature on the purchase documents, timestamps clear as day. Then, text messages from my sister and mother urging me to sign just for convenience, even though I wasn't part of the purchase. Next, screenshots from our family group chat, including the cruel label calling me a useful liability. His face twitched. Finally, I pulled out my phone and played an audio recording from the lounge, about 10 minutes before I was asked to leave. Celine's voice rang clear and sharp, dripping with disdain. She thinks she's involved. She's just here to make us look generous. Trust me, she's too used to being invisible to fight back. I stopped the playback and looked up. Jonathan's hands clenched on the table. She said all that? In your building? I added. On a day she was representing your brand. He cleared his throat. I appreciate the clarity. No lawsuits, I said flatly. No public statements unless she keeps pushing. I'm not here to cause trouble, but I refuse to be her footnote. He nodded slowly, understanding. If I were you, I warned, I'd rethink who represents your image. That evening, I didn't rant or explain. I simply uploaded one. Picture, me standing beside the Rolls-Royce, no filters, no pose, jeans, hands by my side, eyes steady. The next slide, a scanned copy of the original financing agreement, my name and contributions stamped and signed. Caption, silence is power but truth is oxygen. I didn't check comments or shares, I didn't need to. 15 minutes later, the family chat, silent all day, exploded. Caleb's message was the quietest, deadliest takedown I'd ever seen. You earned every second by sunrise. The fire Celine started was already burning itself out. I didn't have to add fuel. The truth caught its own wind. Just before noon the next day, my father called. Your mother and I think it's time to clear the air, he said, as if announcing the weather. Family dinner tonight, 6ing at Q. Bellamar. No question, just expectation. I could have refused. I should have. But something told me the storm wasn't over. It had only shifted direction. So I went. This time, I didn't wear jeans. I wore a cobalt blue dress that felt like armor, tailored for this moment. Not loud, not dramatic. Just enough to remind the room I hadn't disappeared. When I entered, heads turned. Not for my dress or heels or the way my hair fell, but because, for once, Celine wasn't the first person anyone noticed. She sat at the center, laughing too loudly, sipping wine like a trophy. My parents sat opposite her, stiff smiles cracking under the strain. I pulled out my chair, and the room grew heavy with silence. That shifting air, not demanding space, but changing the very shape of the room. Dinner began with hollow small talk. Busy weeks, traveling less, safe questions barely held together like fragile china teetering on a tilting table. Halfway through the sea base, my phone buzzed beside. My plate. An email from Alexander, forwarded to me. Subject, contract withdrawal confirmation. I opened it. Due to public reputation concerns and alignment with our values, we are suspending the Q3 luxury fleet acquisition, $3.2 million, effective immediately. I didn't look up, but I didn't have to. Celine's voice cracked first. My father leaned in. What did you just see? I held my screen steady, their faces shifting. Shock, frustration, fear. My mother's lips pressed tight. You didn't have to go that far. I tilted my head. Far? I just stopped being silent. Silverware clinked against half-finished plates. A waiter passed, retreating quickly. Celine's hands trembled on the tablecloth. You've always needed to win, she hissed. Even as a kid, you never let me have one thing, not even this. I met her gaze, calm and unflinching. You mean the showroom I helped fund? The tuition bills I quietly paid when you and Mom forgot your scholarship didn't cover summer classes? Or the silence I gave every time you called me a side character in my own life? Her jaw clenched tight. My father looked ready to stand. But no one did, not even her. For the first time, no one defended her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. After dessert, I excused myself. No goodbyes, no excuses. On the drive home, city lights blurred into long streaks. My hands were steady on the wheel, my thoughts quieter than expected. When I got home, a single envelope lay slipped beneath the door. No stamp, no return address, just my name in soft ink. Inside, a formal letter from the HOA board. Given recent public fallout and misalignment with community values, we are removing Celine Wren from sponsored events and marketing. If you are open to partnership, we welcome your presence in future initiatives. I read it twice, not for validation, but because for the first time it was freely offered. No strings, no guilt trips, just acknowledgement. Later, I stepped into the bedroom and placed the silver bracelet on my dresser. I hadn't worn it once that day, but I wasn't putting it away. It belonged to the woman who left that showroom, a woman who would never walk back the same way again. The next morning came quietly, the world seemingly choosing not to interfere. Sunlight spilled through the kitchen window in golden streams, warming the marble counter, my small ceramic, mug, and the garden visible from the back porch. Alexander sat at the table reading the paper. No headlines about Selene, no scandal, just business briefs and community updates. Peace disguised as routine. I stirred honey into my tea and barefooted to the patch of green I'd planted last. Spring, lavender, rosemary, geraniums blooming stubbornly late in the season. No buzzing phone, no calls, no apologies. Surprisingly, I didn't miss them. For years, I thought reconciliation meant hearing, "I'm sorry." But peace, real peace, had little to do with others' timing and everything to do with mine. I set down the watering can and leaned against the garden post, warmth seeping through my fingers, feeling earned. Not given, not begged for, but earned. My mind drifted to the showroom. The sharp smell of new leather, the harsh lights that made betrayal look polished. I remembered Selene's smirk when she handed me that rag and said, "You missed a spot." I remembered my mother chuckling, "Don't be dramatic, it's just a joke." I remembered the sting. Not only that moment, but every time before. The quiet comments, the erasers. "You've never had gifts. You're too quiet for leadership. You never really wanted much." They said those things like compliments, and I accepted them like terms. Until I didn't. More than the sting, I remembered Caleb, his voice soft but sure. "If it were me, I'd want someone to tell me your silence was louder than anything," they said. That stuck. So did the look on their faces when the Rolls-Royce doors closed behind me. Not fear, but confusion. They couldn't grasp a version of me that didn't need applause to stand. Later that afternoon, I returned to the bedroom, opened the drawer where the silver bracelet rested, lifted it into the light. It caught the sun just right. I traced the engraving with my thumb. "You don't have to prove your worth." I whispered, "It," not for reassurance, but for remembrance. Then I placed it in a small wooden box. Not out of anger, but completion. That version of me was resting now. I glanced at my phone. 3 unread messages from my mother. "Can we talk?" From Selene, "You made your point. Hope it was worth it." And from Caleb, "The new interns see you. Quiet, but sharp. Don't ever doubt your impact." I replied only to Caleb with one line. "Thank you for seeing me." The other 2 I left unread. Not out of spite, but clarity. I stepped onto the porch just as a soft breeze stirred the herbs at my feet. The air smelled clean, like new beginnings. Without ceremony, I thought of all the people I kept close out of duty, not joy. All the explanations offered to those committed to misunderstanding me. People say forgiveness means giving others another chance. I said aloud to no one. Sometimes forgiveness is giving yourself a new story, without them in it. I stood, taller, not from pride, but because I no longer felt small. And it was strange how silence stopped feeling lonely and became something earned, deserved, powerful. The flowers I planted last year, tender, uncertain, were now blooming without permission. I smiled and thought, maybe I am too. My phone buzzed once more, but I didn't check it. I didn't need to. They looked regretful in the end, but I wasn't waiting anymore. Have you ever outgrown people who made you feel small just by standing tall in silence? Tell me in the comments. I read them all. And if no one has told you today, you don't need to prove your worth. You already have it. See you in the next.